Thank you very much to Hayley Asson for becoming a member of the Kinetic Rugby League channel, and thank you to the Sainted Jester for upgrading his membership as well. If you'd like to become a member, you can do for as little as £1 a month by clicking the join button below this video. But thank you to all members of the Kinetic Rugby League channel. But let's get on with the video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kinetic Rugby League channel. So I've left a recap of last round's predictions up on the screen for you guys to check out, as well as the overall predictions for the season. If you guys have your own, let me know in the comment section down below. But let's get on with the first game of this week. Kicking things off, we have the Castleford Tigers taking on Kingston Rovers. So to start with form, Cass have only won 2 in their last 5 Super League games. Hull have won 5 in their last 5 Super League games. Cass should be full of confidence off the back of their performance against Hull FC last round. They looked solid in defence, first of all, and they looked fairly controlled in possession, which is pretty rare for Cass this year. I've mentioned plenty of times about these once-in-a-blue-moon resilient displays from Cass. We actually saw it in round 1 against Hull KR, which is what allowed me to put them 5th in the power rankings for round 1. And they've just not reached those heights since. So defensively, we can get these performances from Cass, but it's been so rare seeing solid 80-minute performances. Sometimes towards the back end of games, they're normally, behind by a decent score, and then we'll see in the last 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, a bit of a fight back. But even without their number one guy, not just with the number on the jersey, but their number one offensive option in Tex Hoy wasn't in the game last week. But even offensively, they still look decent. I think Dejan Assi had one of his better games of the year. It's not been a great year for him so far, and there was a lot of hype that the club built around him. But yeah, I think he had a decent go of it last time out, and there's a few individual sparks in their performance as well. But Kingston Rovers, they continue to perform extremely well defensively, even with Cass looking better at the weekend. I don't think Kingston Rovers should have too much trouble in terms of putting points up for themselves and keeping Cass out for long enough periods. With Hull KR, as I mentioned in the Power Rankings video, last 5 games, 22 points conceded in total, an average of 4.4 points per game. I don't know how they consistently do it. Some of the fundamentals of defence, quick defensive line speed, inside pressure, shifting across quickly, staying well connected. They just keep doing it. Is it speed that's going to outdo it? Is it timing? Is it precision? Is it all of it? What is going to break open? What is going to be able to dismantle Hull KR's defence? At some point, you'd imagine someone's going to find a way to find a new way of playing around teams, surely at some point. But I don't think it's going to be Castleford this weekend. Although, as they did in round 1, we might see one of those really miraculous defensive Castleford displays. We will see. I expect Kingston Rovers to have a fairly easy day, though, through the middle, and probably pin Castleford back quite a fair bit. I think Castleford's best chance will come from quick defensive line speed, I think bravery to move the ball around in their own half as well, and just a bit of an FU attitude, possibly as well. So I'm going to go with Castleford Tigers 8, Kingston Rovers 28. Next up, we have St Helens taking on the Leeds Rhinos. So start with form, Saints have won 3 in their last 5 Super League games, which is positive form, but Leeds have won 5 on the bounce. Fair play to the Rhinos. With Saints' recent games as well, they've struggled against some of the better teams in the competition, and they've been fine against the bottom 3 performers in recent games. And given the fact that Leeds are one of the better teams in the competition, it's not a good sign going into this one. And based on actual performances from either side, it's not looking like a great matchup for Saints, given that Leeds also beat them fairly recently as well, quite comfortably, might I add. Leeds are also one of the better sides in the competition as well. And this year, defensively, they are excellent. I think offensively, they're okay. They can have some great days. They can have some decent days. But I think overall, offensively Leeds are okay. But the thing is, given how strong their defence is, okay is actually good enough for Leeds right now. It's not good enough for where they want to be. If they want to win the grand final, which I think there's a possibility they could do, at least with this kind of defence they've got, their attack needs to be better than okay. But That being said, the defence is still kind of keeping them in games, in tough games, and is kind of the reason why they're as good as they are. The defence is brilliant this year. I think there's a very good chance that Leeds also dominate through the middle. The forwards they've got, the energy that they're playing with, they're also quite technically gifted as well, a lot of them, especially Palacia when he plays in that 13 role. And even some of the carriers at the backfield, Newman and Hanley put in a good shift. But then you've got Riley Lum has had a fantastic year, I think. He's come leaps and bounds. We saw him a couple times last season. He showed a great few moments, especially on debut against Hull FC, with a fairly decent solo try. And then the carries from Ryan Hall out the backfield as well. I think everyone for Leeds are just putting in a hell of a shift, especially with the carries through the middle and then defensively as well, as I mentioned. St. Helens can be resilient in defence. I do think they're the fourth best defensive side in Super League, if I'm not mistaken, so they can be quite strong defensively. And I think up against a Leeds side that isn't like firing on all cylinders offensively, that could be a decent matchup, and it could help them over the course of 80 minutes to keep Leeds out for long periods of the game. I just think with how kind of basic, how predictable, how sluggish I think Saints attack has looked over the past few weeks. Yes, it's looked good, but that's against like bottom three opponents. I think Leeds defence should be well matched to keep them out better than Saints would be able to keep Leeds out. And also, Leeds are just getting it done in clutch moments. Even if the matchups defensively to the other team's offense is just well matched, just in the clutch moments, Leeds are getting it done. We saw a couple of weeks ago against Hull FC. We saw, obviously, against Hull Kingston Rovers a few weeks back as well. There's just something about Leeds this year. Nobody wants to play them. They're just getting it done. And I think even, as I say, even if the matchups look good for Saints with their defence against Leeds attack, I think players like Jake Connor, Brodie Croft, we've seen from McDonald, Gannon on the edges, they can find ways to punish teams. And I think Leeds will look in control, but I don't think they'll run away with it just because Saints can put up a fairly decent defensive display. So I'm going to go with St. Helens 12, Leeds Rhinos 20. Next up, we have Wakefield Trinity taking on the Wigan Warriors. Starting with form, Wakefield have won 3 in their last 5 Super League games, but they have lost 2 on a bounce. Mind you, they are 2 tough games that they've lost back to back, by the way. Wigan, they've won 5 in their last 5 Super League games. They've also won 9 in a row. Show-offs. Anyway, Wigan lacked creativity against Huddersfield. That was without Bevan French. Normally when they lose French, Field or Smith, they kind of take a bit of a step back in terms of creativity. But yeah, they didn't look at, their usual selves. As far as I can tell, French is like 50-50 for this week. I believe he either was or was going to be in the squad against Huddersfield and then was left out due to calf strain, something like that. So yeah, I think Bevan French is kind of 50-50 based on what I know right now. If Wigan look the same as they did against Huddersfield, I think Wakefield have a good chance of causing an upset this week. One thing it's not an advantage, but something that works in their favour and is good for the matchup is that Wakefield shift the ball with pace, first of all. Now, if you want to break down Wigan's defence, if you find some breaks through the middle, congratulations. If you manage to find 2 during a game, fair play to you. You've had a hell of a go through the middle. But it's going to be a rarity to find breaks through the middle, which means you're going to have to go towards the edges. But Wigan, they shift across. They plug the gaps. The defensive line speed's good. They stay well connected defensively, especially in the middle third. They don't allow many easy meters through the middle as well. So you've got to play with pace. It's not just about the accurate passes, just kind of finding yourselves in the right pockets. If you don't play with pace, you are not going to get around this Wigan defence. But fortunately for Wakefield, they play inside the pockets. They play off the cuff. They like to go into the second phases, move the defensive line around, and they like to play with pace. They play with a lot of pace. So I think it's not to say it's going to be, clear cut that Wakefield's going to be able to open up Wigan left, right, and centre. But I think Wakefield's characteristics in attack, I think, could do them a few favours this week against Wigan's defence. Also through the middle, I think this is a really good matchup. Honestly, I think Wigan's forward pack, I think, is trending down slightly. And I think Wakefield's is trending upwards. And it'll come down to a few individuals whether you'd need impact from Mago for Wigan, impact from Fartilli for Wakefield, whether it's Ellis, whether he wants to take carries through the middle or, move the ball around. Or the same with Pitts as well. The decision making from the loose forwards are going to be huge. When are they going to take carries? When are they going to move the ball around? So I think the decision making from the loose forwards will be massive, and then the impact players through the middle will be huge as well. Who can slow down the ruck enough? Who can make enough post contact meters? Who can get the offloads? I think it's going to be very interesting through the middle. I actually can't pick a winner. Normally, I think I'd lean towards Wigan, and I think a lot of other people would as well, but I don't think I can pick a winner in that area. But for Wigan, a major concern for me, and this is if Jack Farman is playing, I understand he's still a young player, learning his craft. He felt like a bit of a liability for Wigan's defence, especially on the goal line. So I've already mentioned about, Wakefield's offence versus Wigan's defence. I think Jack Farman, if he is playing and French isn't, Farman is going to be a target. And I think that's where Wakefield can see themselves getting some decent points. I think there's a chance that that's where Wakefield make it interesting. Huddersfield already showed the blueprint. Now, I do think overall throughout the game, you look at the kicking game of Smith, the precision, controlling the tempo of the game, the chase off the back of it, the execution offensively, all these parts, Wigan are just better. And it was a lackluster effort offensively. But you get the moments from Jack Farman in possession. You get the moments from Jay Field. You get these moments from Junior and Semba. I just think over the course of 80 minutes, it's just cleaner from Wigan, and I don't expect them to be as disjointed as they were against Huddersfield Giants. I think they'll bounce back. Just in these little areas, they'll just add up over 80 minutes. But I do think Wakefield's attack can make it interesting, but it's towards the back end of the game when it's the crunch time. That's when Wigan show up. So I'm going to go with Wakefield Trinity 18, Wigan Warriors 26. Next up, we have the Warrington Wolves taking on the Huddersfield Giants. Starting with form, both sides have won one in their last 5 Super League games. Fantastic. Now, my biggest concern for Warrington is that I think it could be really easy for the Giants to bully Warrington through the middle. There was one game that stood out massively. I mean, there's a lot of them that have stood out and been quite poor. The Vegas game was certainly an interesting one. But against Catalans, early on in the season, they bullied Warrington through the middle, and I have a sneaky feeling it's going to go the same kind of way. A lot of post-contact meters, a lot of quick play the balls, a lot of offloads, a lot of missed tackles from Warrington. I've got a feeling that given the size, the way that Huddersfield have been carrying, or they carried a lot against Wigan, the way that they've kind of been trending up as well, getting a lot more of their regulars back in, or key players back in, I should say. Some of the carries from Greenwood, they were great. King was great. Bibby was great. Cudjoe, Golding. Huddersfield are getting pieces back together. The forward pack has looked good since the start of the season. And they've started games well. There was that stat. I still can't remember how many games it was, but they won the first half in X amount of games. I want to say it was at least 5 or 6. Yes, they lost all those games in the end, but they've started really well. And they've got a good forward pack. And against Warrington, I think there's a good chance Huddersfield dominate in that area. Honestly, I think they could. So once again, that means it falls to Mark Sneed's kicking game to kind of outdo all that, to keep turning their forwards around, to pin Huddersfield into the corners, to make them work the ball out their own end. Now, another thing is, I'm hoping another week with George Williams back in the side after his long-term injury, If Thulis is also going to be at fullback again, because I think Duffy has one more week out due to injury, maybe another week on top of this as well, not too sure. But if it's at least a consistent side to the one it was against Leeds, hopefully Sneed and Williams can build on the offense a little bit more. Thulis can be involved a bit more. I think with Thulis, there was a lot of individual moments where he had to try and kind of do his best in a not so ideal position. Just did what he could with what he had. But offensively, Warrington has still looked really flat and really lifeless, honestly. But I'm hoping Martin Gleeson, in charge of the offense, pretty sure he is, can work his magic and make something happen this week. We will see. But I don't know what happened with Clune versus Wigan. If he's there, plus Huddersfield are at full strength in most of the areas anyway, I think they could do a lot of damage. If it is Flanagan into the halves, if it's Rush that's in the halves, whoever it is, I think along with Lolohea and whoever they've got at fullback, I think they've got pieces that can be quite exciting and do a bit of damage. Through the forward pack, it's going to be... I think it's going to be a really close one. The only thing that's leaning me towards Warrington at the moment is now back at home, the fans expect to bounce back, Burgess probably expects to bounce back, and evidence so far this season has shown that Warrington are more capable of a stronger performance than Huddersfield. Huddersfield are trending in the right direction based on their performances. Warrington, they're not really trending anywhere. They're just kind of up and down, really. So there's been more evidence of Warrington having the peaks than Huddersfield so far. I think this could be extremely close, and I'm honestly... It's a winnable game for Warrington, but I'm not looking forward to it. I'm honestly not. But I'm going to go with Warrington Wolves 26, Huddersfield Giants 24. Next up, we have the Catalans Dragons taking on the Leigh Leopards. Now, Catalans have lost 5 in a row. Leigh have won 3 in their last 5, and one of those, I believe, was against Catalans Dragons as well. The Dragons look clueless in and out of possession. With the ball, they're so flat and they look void of ideas. And in defence, they can't stop teams from gaining easy meters, whether it be through the middle or on the edges, and they just can't hold teams out. They're just a really poor side at the moment. It is so weird. Given the strength of that squad on paper, they are so bad right now. Their points difference in their last 4 is 6 to 190. They've conceded more points in the last 4 games than Hull KR, Wigan, Leeds and Saints have conceded all year. That's garbage, mate. Hate to break it to you, but that's shit. I think Leigh's energy, though, to get onto the more positive side of things, I think Leigh's energy has been brilliant in the last few weeks. They've not always performed to their highest level, but I think they've shown a lot of energy through the middle, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing for them. They look like they clicked a lot more offensively with Lamb and McNamara, and Armstrong, I think, had one of his better games of the year as well. It's not been a great season for him so far, I don't think. Obviously, he's had injuries in there. He's not played every round this year, but hopefully with a bit of consistency, Leigh can, start to find that consistency offensively without O'Brien at the moment as well. But through the middle, they're really setting a platform. Mulhern was great against Wakefield. Offengawi was as well. Liu. Niu's carries as well are going to be huge out of the backfield. I just think, once again, based on the evidence, Leigh are playing with so much energy through the middle. Leigh will hopefully click once again this week offensively, because they haven't looked great, but against Wakefield they looked a lot better. Through the middle they look great, as I said, and defensively they scramble extremely well. They're a solid defensive side. I think there are individuals that are put under a lot of pressure, but they deal with them well. One of those players is Umail Hanley. I think some people have criticised him this year, but you'll see a lot of times centres trying to get around the outside of him, but he's not having it. And I think he does a really good job of wrapping players up and making sure that they restrict the meters and restrict the progress, not even allowing them to get offloads as well. So I think the back line in general for Leigh, I think, has done a really solid job defensively. Holton was another one as well, by the way, just came to mind for his carries against Wakefield. But based on the evidence, Catalans are clueless offensively, they're poor defensively. Leigh are playing with a lot of energy and are clearly the better team right now. Are Catalans going to get a big old goose egg? I think they will. So I'm going to go with Catalans Dragons 0, Leigh Leopards 42. Finally for this round, we have Salford Red Devils taking on Hull FC. Salford have lost 5 in their last 5 games, and a bit more than that. And Hull FC have only won 2 in their last 5. I will say some of the more recent games that they've lost as well, they have had tough opponents. But Hull FC didn't have a great day against Castleford, but I'll start with Salford. Once again, we don't really know what Salford team we're going to see. The one thing I hope is it's just consistent. As much as they've lost key players, we don't know who they're going to be able to put out. Just the one thing that would help is just consistency. As long as they know what team they can roughly have on a week-to-week basis, that'll go a long way into just building some cohesion. Whether it be Masters consistently as a number 6, Brierley consistently at 1 or 7, wherever it is, as long as there's consistency, they can at least build cohesion in possession and out of possession. Hull FC will be unhappy with their performance against Castleford. They look slightly disconnected. They were missing out on Will Price, who's been huge for their offense since he joined. But they did look slightly disconnected and honestly a little slow moving the ball around. That was my biggest concern with them, is normally there's a bit more energy, they've a bit more intent to have a go at teams, but you know, they tried to play inside the pockets, but I think they're a bit slow. Maybe they're slightly less confident without Will Price in there, but that's something that, you know, you'd expect them to try and fix. I think they've adapted well to issues this year. I think they've got plenty of leaders that can identify issues and they can fix things fairly quickly. So I think we'll see a much faster Hull FC side. Now, I think if Salford have a few key players in usual spots, they can hopefully put some points on the board. I am expecting a Hull FC side that is, 1, better prepared this week, and 2, they're also playing a weaker opponent. I don't think they'll have much trouble through the middle. I'm expecting a lot of meters from the forwards, possibly a lot of offloads as well. A lot of line breaks. As long as they can finish the tries, I think it'll be a big scoreline for them. But as always for me, I'm just hoping, with Salford being at home, they just get themselves a try. Just little bits of positivity. I'd love the Salford fans just to have any reason to have a smile on their face. But I know that they're always proud of the hard work, at least, and that's a solid bare minimum to have from the Salford boys. But yeah, Hull FC, I think they should be fine this week and will likely bounce back. So I'm going to go with Salford Red Devils 6, Hull FC 40. So there you have my Super League Round 15 predictions. If you guys have your own predictions, please do let me know in the comments section down below. But as always, if you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like. It does help to get the video out there to more people. Subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with more Kinetic Rugby League content. Join the Discord if you'd like to. There's an invite link in the description down below. And if you'd like to become a member, you can do by clicking the join button below this video and joining for as little as £1 per month. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.